Hey everyone, my name is Austin James, and welcome back to another episode of Beneath the Surface. Today, I am so excited to be joined with my first guest on our podcast, and that is my mom, Shannon. How are you?
Perfectly fine, but what was with that accent at the end?
I don't know. I'm kind of vibing with it though.
At least somebody is.
Well, so today my mom is joining us to talk all things life before and possibly we may get to the after of having children. Um, I am so excited because this is something that I've looked forward to for a while. And
Can we stop with the ums, please?
listen, it
Oh,
is
yes,
my
they're going to
podcast.
hear me roast you.
This is my podcast, and I say 100 times.
Oh, God, help us all.
So, yeah. So, if the people don't know who you are, tell them who you are and who.
I'm me. I'm Shannon. Your stepmother, technically speaking, but I am the one that has been in your life since you were 11 months old and has driven me crazy for 20 years, but it's fine.
Well, that's never gonna change. So,
Yeah, no, I'm kind of stuck with you.
yeah, you are. Sorry.
It was in the fine print on that marriage certificate.
Right. You got a lifetime guarantee of me.
Oh God, well, I should have read it better.
um So I guess we can just jump right in, huh? So we're going to start with one question that I'm going to ask all of my guests, and that is, what is your experience with mental health?
The good, the bad, or the ugly.
All the above.
It's been good, bad, and ugly. That's literally been my experience. Your ups, downs, your rock bottoms, your high highs. It's never going to be a clear path.
With that, can I ask, like, what have you been diagnosed with, or have you struggled with either now or in the past?
Well, I've always suffered from depression since I was young. So, my latest diagnosis for the last, I would say, 2 years, possibly more, would probably be severe anxiety disorder. Um, I have MDD, I believe it's called, manic depressive disorder or massive depressive, some crap like that, but basically severely depressed. We'll put it, in dumb terms, I guess. And then I suffer from severe insomnia. I also have social anxiety and a whole bunch of other lovely related mental health issues.
Well, that sounds like fun.
Oh, yeah, it's a joy.
So you mentioned having depression from a young age. Could you tell us what your life was like as a child?
Honestly, you could look at my childhood and be like, she had everything. So what does she have? What is she really depressed about? And so what I tell people is, you don't know what happens behind closed doors. You don't know everybody's story. I had, from what looking on the outside in, is a perfect childhood. I had a mom and a dad, both my birth parents together my entire life until my dad died, and then I grew up with my brother, and I had cousins and aunts and uncles and family and friends, and I never went without. So I had what people would say the perfect childhood.
And again, like nothing is like picture perfect as like it may seem. So in your experience as a child, what was it that made you depressed? Or is it something that
That'll
triggered
be
it?
an episode for another time because that is not something I am ready to really openly discuss. But just know that whatever started it didn't start right away. It festered and it lingered and it just built up until one day I became a rebellious teenager and just didn't care.
It ended. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our partner on this podcast, Enchanted Eats. They are a small business located in Staten Island, New York. They customize all kinds of treats, including Oreos, pretzels, strawberries, and so much more. You can customize your treats by whatever theme your party may be. Prices may vary, including different packages that they offer. And if you are interested in booking with them, you can look them up on Instagram at enchanted eats underscore by underscore crystal R. The link will be in the description of this. So, going off that, my question to you is for those of you who do not know, my mom was a teen mom. She had my sister at 17 and my brother at 18. Um, what is it like to have a child at 17, and how did it change or form your relationship with the people around you that were your age?
Well, I'm not going to recommend it to any person. Yeah, go have a kid as a teenager because let's face it, that's not what anybody should really do. I mean, it's not something. I'm not going to say that it's not smart because I can't tell you what's smart for your own good. I mean, everybody's journey is different, everybody's story is different, but I knew when I got pregnant with Alyssa that that's she's mine. That there was no okay, that this is what we're gonna do. I grew up where yeah, premarital sex was not supposed to be happening, but let's face it, in today's day and age that it's gonna happen. Um but it's just I knew what I was gonna do. Didn't know how I was gonna do it, but I knew what I was gonna do. It didn't really phase me if it ruins relationships. Honestly, I don't really think it did. I mean, it probably did in the long run with some people, but I still have friends from high school that I'm still friends. Like my friends are my friends. I still speak to them. We might not speak every day, but my path was just a little bit different than theirs, and it's okay.
Well, that's good to hear because I feel like so many people and teen parents, they can feel lost or without like a village, and they're doing this all alone. Is there one piece of advice you could give to a teen mom now, or even that is past the teen parent stage and is has older kids? Like, is there one piece of advice you can give those people?
No, there's not only going to be just one piece of advice. I mean, there's always going to be some type of advice to give. But yeah, a village is literally what saved me and my kids. I was fortunate enough that I didn't have it where I got kicked out of the house. I wasn't disowned. I wasn't, yeah, I grew up in a Catholic household. I grew up with a father that people were scared of because he was 6'2" and never really smiled. But yeah, I mean, I was daddy's little girl, so that kind of scared a lot of people too. But my parents, yeah, my mom was more mad than my dad, but I mean, I don't blame her now. I mean, years ago, it's like, okay, give me a break, but I get it. If not many people have a village with their families, but a village is also what you make it. You could have people that you don't know. There are resources out there. There are people to talk to. I mean, social media isn't the greatest when it comes to things, but you'd be surprised on the resources through social media that you could actually find. And one of the biggest things that I have even told my own daughter when she had her child was don't lose yourself. Basically, don't lose who you are as a person because let's face it, I had Alyssa at 17. I am now 42. And what sucks is I don't know who I am. I'm just now at 42. Like, okay, my kids are older, they're all adults. I could do for me, I could do things that I want to do, but finding what that is as an adult is a lot harder than when you're a kid. So having kids young, yeah, I lost myself, but that was my doing. I can't blame anybody else. So remember who you are from day one. Continue to be who you are. I took it as they're my kids, they're my responsibility. I have to do everything. I got a lot of help. I didn't ask for a lot of help, only when I absolutely needed it. I always had my kids with me. First time I was away from Alyssa was when I gave birth to Logan, and she was a year old. The first time I was away from Logan, he was a year and a half, and that was because I went to a wedding and Alyssa was in the wedding. That's the only reason that I was away from him for the night. So I was with my kids 24/7. You saw me, you saw them, you saw them, you saw me. Supermarkets, walking, parks. I became a mom and a wife, not once, but twice. So I never was just Shannon. So you have to remember to keep yourself grounded, but don't lose yourself in the long run because that's exactly what's going to happen.
And I feel like that's really impactful and really important for people to realize, because even just in everyday life, and of course, like on this topic, parenting, like I feel like a lot of people can lose themselves and forget who they are. And whether you're a teen parent or you become a parent at 35, children are, you know, they're rough, especially, if you get kids that have medical issues or, you know, delayed disorders and things like that. And it can get testy and it could get trying, but you have to just remember to keep going and to, again, don't lose yourself.
It's not only that, it's every child is different. And that's what some people fail to realize. If you look at Alyssa and Logan from birth, Alyssa was that perfect baby. Woke up every 3, 4 hours, slept, was sleeping through the night at 5 weeks. And then Logan came along, and Logan, I used to joke around and say he was my birth control because Logan slept an hour a day, screamed for about 20 hours a day. And yeah, let's just say postpartum depression is real. I don't care what anybody says.
And that's a very true statement. And I think that one day maybe we can do a separate episode just on teen parenting and postpartum. And I think that's
Postpartum depression needs more exposure, in my opinion, because we're going back 23 years when I suffered from it. Yeah, I get it. I had Alyssa a year and 2 days later, I had Logan. So my body, my mind, nothing really went back to normal. Plus, I was still maturing as a teenager. And then I throw 2 kids in the mix. And yeah, postpartum depression does not get the exposure that it needs. And I think that's why so many people are scared to ask for help or even know the signs of it.
right. And again, I open this up to like listeners that if you are interested in being a part of that conversation, because I don't know what it's like. I will never know what it's like. But I'm more than happy to have a conversation about it and learn more about it from people who have been through this. And you can go on my website under the podcast tab. There is a section where you can place comments, questions, anything that you want to say, and I will absolutely read them and we will include them in the next podcast.
I'll answer any question. Like, I have no issue with that. It's just remember, I'm only going off of my experience. I have no, you know, backgrounds medically to speak from. I only know from my own personal experience. I can't even speak for anybody else's because everybody's journey and everybody's mental health status is not the same. We all suffer differently. We all recover differently.
Right. And I do think that to a certain extent, like as for me anyways, I can speak on my perspective. I know some people hearing not the medical standpoint of it, but hearing somebody who has, I think, as hearing it from somebody who struggles on a day to day basis and who has to live with this and, figure out what life is like while suffering with things like that. I think it is a little bit easier to heal and grow from it, just from besides hearing like the medical standpoint, because I don't know about anybody else, but sometimes the medical things, they scare me.
That's because Google is at everybody's fingertips. So everybody's like, oh my God, I'm feeling this way. And then you look it up. Oh my God, I have 5 seconds to live and I'm dead. And it doesn't work that way. I mean, we're all going to go to Google because, I'll age myself. Encyclopedias aren't around anymore. So Google's at your fingertips. But we psych ourselves out. I mean, every time you go to the doctor and they tell you something, it's like, oh my God, I'm dying. Or, oh my God, it's the end of the world. No, it's just another, it's not even a fork or a bump in the road. It's just another path that you're going to take. And it's just not a straight path.
And like on that, like, is there like one thing that you wish if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice, being a new mom and a teen mom suffering from postpartum depression and things like that? Is there one thing that you wish you could tell yourself now?
Speak up, because I never told anybody I was suffering from postpartum depression. I don't know if anybody even knew. So, my only advice, and it will be the first thing I ever say, is speak up, because that is probably my biggest mistake, is not speaking up when I was suffering. And I don't know if I'll ever get into the exact way I snapped out of my postpartum depression. I could go into a little bit of details, but to protect other people that are involved in it, don't worry, nothing major or illegal. Um, I won't expose other people's versions of the story of what went down, but I snapped out of it because something was said to me. We'll put it at that. And it kind of brought me out of it, like, oh crap, like this is really happening. And I don't know if people knew I was suffering. I don't know if I was hiding it. I didn't care. I was drowning. And unfortunately, I was drowning for a year and a half, almost 2 years on it, quietly. I didn't tell anybody my thoughts. I didn't tell anybody the struggles that I was going through as a teen mom, as a teen mom to two, one who did need physical therapy and specialists and such from day one. And if I would have spoken up then, I don't know if my mental health would have been as bad as it was as years progressed. I don't know. It could have been, it could not have been. We'll never know, but it is what it is. And the only thing I could say is just speak up, regardless of your ego and your
And
pride.
I respect that a lot, and I resonate with that a lot. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why this podcast, I wanted to create it, because whether it's postpartum depression or it's anxiety or whatever the case is, I think it's really important, no matter what situation you're in, to always speak up and advocate for yourself and your needs, because mental health is tricky and it is hard to do it alone, and it's almost impossible to do it alone. And if you speak up for yourself and you advocate for what you need, there's a hope and there's a chance that you may feel just a little bit better, and that's better than nothing.
Now, here's the thing with that. In order for you to get your mental health, I can't even say I bait, because sometimes it's not cut and dry like that. You have to want it. You're not going to succeed in therapy or any type of treatment if you yourself are not ready. You can't do it for your spouse, your children, your friends, your family. You can literally only do it for yourself. And if you're doing it for other people, you're going to fail at it and you're going to give up. And believe me, been there, done that plenty of times.
Yeah, and I think that's really, really important. Is I think one of the biggest things with mental health is not only advocate for yourself, but stand up to yourself, because I think and especially in my experience, like I let my mental health rule my life. And I think that if you stand up to yourself and you say, no, I'm not going to let this, control me, and I'm suffering with this, yes, and I accept that, but I'm going to push past it and do what I want to do, that may even help you just even a little bit, because I know that it helped me in a big way once I realized, like if you're going to let it control your life, you're never going to go anywhere. But in my situation, I I cleaned it up, and here I am almost 3 years later in a much better mental health space than I was.
But here's another thing, you're gonna hit rock bottom. It's okay to hit rock bottom. Like,
Absolutely.
it's not something that you could really avoid, but you also have to let yourself feel your feelings. And I've learned that. I mean, it took me 40 years to figure that out, but you have to let yourself feel the feelings. It's okay to hit rock bottom. The only thing is, it's not okay to stay at rock bottom.
Absolutely. So shifting gears a little bit, this is a question that I've actually been very interested in hearing, not only from your perspective, but a lot of young and teen parent perspectives. Is did you ever find yourself thinking about what life could have been like if you had kids later, or the different life your kids could have had if you had them later?
Okay, so here's the thing. You could always go on the what ifs. Everybody has what ifs, shoulda, coulda, would is, and all that. So now I could have said, what if I didn't have kids at 17 and 18? I wouldn't have the same kids I have, because how am I supposed to know that I would have been with their dad later on in life? I don't know that. I look at it as this is when my faith comes into play, where God has a plan for everybody and we just are along for the ride. And yeah, technically you could say I sinned. I had kids out of wedlock. I was 17 and 18, blah, 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 blah. Whatever. I've heard it all. It's not going to hurt me. Do I still believe in God? Yes. Do I believe he turned his back on me? Absolutely not. And that's my deal. You have a problem. That's on you. I mean, it's my faith, not yours. So I really don't care. But I look at it this way: if I didn't have my kids at 17 and 18, I would have never been able to take care of my grandmother for 11 months after my grandfather had fallen. And she had dementia that turned into full blown Alzheimer's really quickly. And I was taking care of her and two little ones. And I was babysitting their cousin at the time. And it was a lot, but I did what I had to do. And everybody else was working or in school or whatever the case was. Everybody had, their lives situated. And my grandmother was in her 80s. So it's not like, she was an easy person, because she really wasn't, but she was funny as hell. And up until I couldn't take care of her anymore, I mean, I did what I had to do pretty much 7 days a week, nights, days, it didn't matter. But if I didn't have my kids, there would have been nobody to take care of her, and she would have ended up in a home sooner rather than later. And my dad wasn't around for long after I had kids, and he was able to experience being a grandfather firsthand. Otherwise, he never would have gotten that experience from grandkids being babies to whatever age they were when he died. And yes, I know how old they were, but we don't need to get into all that now. But it's just the point that he was able to be a grandfather and be an amazing grandfather. And if I didn't have my kids, I'm not even gonna lie, I probably wouldn't even be here, because my path was, I was set to join the army after graduating high school, and I was set to graduate high school in 2001. And we all know what happened in 2001. And in 2002, I had Logan. And right after I had Logan, I was reached out to by the military asking if I was still interested. And being a mom of two under two, yeah, there was no way I was doing it, even if I qualified at that time. But I just say God works in mysterious ways, and just don't question the path that He's given me, because if I do, the shoulda, coulda, woulda, and the what ifs could turn pretty dark and scary. So I just go along with it and accept my journey as my journey, and there's no changing it.
Right. And I really respect that answer, and I'm glad that you mentioned, your faith and religion, because a lot of people uh, question that in those situations of, did I did this, can, like, did God choose to turn his back on me? And I do agree. I am one of those believers that he creates you for a reason, and he gives you what you can handle, and he's never going to turn his back against you. And that's my beliefs, and everybody has their own beliefs. um
Yes, this is not a religious podcast. Don't
no.
worry about it. But if you're going to want to ask me questions, just know that certain things will be based on my faith and my beliefs.
Right.
So, my dad died and I was pissed at God. Like, I'm like, but that's not normal. Like, I grew up, that's not normal. You're not supposed to be mad. I went to confession, something I don't really do, but Alyssa was making communion, so let's do it right. And I'll never forget when I went into that booth and I told Monsignor that I was mad at God for taking my father away, and he said that's okay. He understands. And that was like, oh, okay. I'm allowed to be mad, but you get over it.
Absolutely. And I do think that, and again, this is not a, a religious podcast in any way, and but
It's just part of me.
I do think that faith is important. If, like, for me, like, faith is important to me, and my religion is very important to me. I will never push it upon anybody. I will have an open conversation about it, but this is no way pushing anything in
No,
our.
and with you specifically, your faith has a lot of um how do I put it? A lot of trials to go through
Yeah.
because you grew up believing in this religion and these teachings, but you as a person, it doesn't resonate with a lot of things. So you and your faith will always be tried because of certain beliefs.
Absolutely.
And that's just, unfortunately, it's everybody. Everybody's going to, their faith is going to be tried and everything. But growing up with a Catholic background, we'll throw it out there. And the Bible and the churches teach us that marriage is between a man and a woman. Well, this is 2025, and we all know that's not the case anymore. Um, it's either the churches are going to accept it or not. Some do, many don't.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the reality of it, but you can't knock a belief system.
Right.
You could just either go along with it, you could work it to your advantage, or you find what's best for you.
Right. And that's mostly what I do. Is I am, like, a practicing Catholic, and I'm an openly gay man, which the two normally don't go hand in hand, but that's a conversation for
There
another
is a
day.
TikTok personality, person, influencer, whatever you want to call it nowadays, that I just saw his video the other day, and I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want this to become a political, religious anything. But he is an openly gay man who somebody calls him out that, but the Bible teaches you that a marriage is between a man and a woman. And he goes, absolutely. And I don't knock that. He goes, a marriage is between a man and a woman in God's eyes, in the church's eyes. Doesn't mean you can't still have it.
Right. And again, I did think about having a just one episode where I'll sit down and kind of explain that kind of thing, because I think it's important to my story as well. Um,
Absolutely.
but I'm just gonna, like, shift gears for a second. So we're gonna go back a little bit to talking about your dad. You mentioned that your dad died young, um, when you were still young, and we were all still young. How would you say for people who don't know you, how would you explain your relationship with your dad?
He was my best friend. I was daddy's girl. I have three older brothers that not everybody knew, and I'm the baby. So I still have cousins that tell me, I want to beat the living crap out of you because you did no wrong. We couldn't look at you a certain way. And yes, Connie, that one's for you. Um, because I still hear it till this day. But he was my best friend. I mean, I did wrong, but my dad was always there for me. My dad was my go to for everything. If I needed advice, if I just needed to talk to somebody, my dad, me and him, our mornings after I had the kids was every morning we'd have a cup of coffee, a buttered roll, and have a few cigarettes together. And because, yes, I used to smoke and whatever. But it is what it is. I mean, he was my best friend.
So with that, and I think that it's like a beautiful relationship to have. Losing your dad so young, what was it like dealing with your grief and the loss of him while also having to take care of like two young children or three young children in this case?
Well, at that time, it was three, sometimes four, because sometimes Sky was there too.
Right.
Um, that was probably the first time I ever hit. Actually, no, it was. It was losing my dad was what tipped me going over to rock bottom. It was already starting due to other personal things going on in my life. Maybe we'll discuss that one day. Maybe we won't. I don't know. Not everybody needs to know every dark detail of everybody's life. But losing my dad probably was one of the darkest times of my life.
And I think, that is the case for a lot of people, especially when you lose a parent so young and you're still learning how to be a parent yourself. And you, again, like I'm not a parent, so I can't speak on that standpoint. But from the way it looks to me, is at in those early stages, you would look for your parent to help you in those cases. Um, I think like when he when he first died, like what was the one thing you wish you could have asked him, if you're comfortable sharing?
I always say it. It's his. What's his sausage bread recipe? He took that shit to the grave. Even though my mother knows like the base of it or whatever. But I always said like he's never gonna tell me his sausage bread recipe, and it was always like my favorite thing that he would make. And he made a lot of things. He was really good in the kitchen. Um, but honestly, I don't have a question for my dad because my dad died. I can't say that he died happy, but I think my dad died knowing at the end of the day, eventually I'd be okay.
Right. And I know you said like you were very close to your dad and you guys had a very tight relationship. So losing your dad, how did that change your relationship with your mom in a sense?
It actually brought us a lot closer. Like me and my mom really were never close. Like we've always butted heads. Growing up, I could go days without speaking to my mother, like, and be fine with it. Like we would argue, and I really wouldn't give a shit. Like I had no care. But my dad, if we argued by the end of the night, we were making up. Like I couldn't stay mad at my dad no matter what. Um, but when my dad died, it actually brought us a lot closer. So now it's like we'll talk about everything and anything. We go on vacations together. We do things together. It's a complete different relationship. Plus, I'm also older, so I look at things a lot differently now. But it definitely, my father's death definitely brought us a lot closer and not further apart.
and that's beautiful. And I am a firm believer in death can either make or break a family.
1000%.
I guess before shifting to the next topic, my last question for you on this is what do you miss most about your dad?
His hugs. Literally his hugs. My dad was 6'2". the longest freaking arms that could wrap around you like 14 times. And it's not even the point of him hugging you tight or squeezing, but it's just his hugs. His hugs literally made everything go away. It didn't matter how bad things were.
That's really special. Okay. So the next topic that I want to touch on a little bit is step parenting.
Oh, the joys.
um, for some people, step parents are not, they don't,
The evil step parent.
that, or, they don't really connect with like their step parents, like stepchildren don't connect with their step parents very well, or they never have a good relationship. However, this relationship between you and I has been really different than most, and a lot of friends that I have that have step parents, they don't have the same level of connection that I feel that we do. And so my biggest question, my first question really is, what is it like parenting a stepchild while also parenting your own? Well, that's not a good way to put it.
Okay, so we'll do it this way because this is an issue that so many people, and apparently you yourself as a stepchild, never seem to get it through your head sometimes. There are parents, there are step parents. Okay? But then there's bonus parents. There's bonus children. They don't need to be called step children, step parents, step siblings. Um, the biggest challenge is learning to put your personal problems with the other parent aside to make it where you can still have a relationship with all of the children involved. It doesn't have to, you don't have to look at, well, that's not biologically mine. Yeah, and who gives a shit? Um, I didn't give birth to my dog. I don't treat her any different than anything. I mean, it's just stupid the way in my opinion, as a mom and as a stepmom, if politically speaking, the only difference is I pushed some kids out and some kids just walked in. They're like, it's I didn't choose the children I birthed, but I chose the children I raised. There's a difference in that, and not every person's gonna look at it that way.
Right. So with that, I guess, what is the biggest challenge of being the bonus parent, or, yeah.
Well, every blended family's story is going to be different. Every challenge is going to be different. And from my experience, it was definitely not easy. The biggest challenge for me wasn't to know when to step back. Like, when I knew legally I have no rights, technically I have no rights, legally I have no say, technically I have no say, even though I was the one, which everybody that knows our family, not one person can deny from any angle that I was the one that did everything.
Mhm.
Medically, educationally, all of it. I was the one that did it. Never complained, never looked for anything. That's just the type of person I am. But the biggest challenge for me was continuing to learn to keep the adult issues with the adults and not the kids.
And I really love that answer, and like, I know from my standpoint, like, I appreciate that a lot, because I have spoken with some people who are in similar situations as to me, and they're, step parent, and I'll use that word for this case, treats them differently, or kind of ignores their existence. And that was really the opposite for me. As I spoke about in a previous episode, growing up was rough with the constant back and forth of child services and the
Story for another day, I will
yeah.
tell you that, because that's probably a couple part episode.
Yeah. But it was difficult, and I think that if anybody else, and I again, you don't know, but if someone else was in your shoes, I think they would have handled it a lot differently. And through all of it, you still showed up and you were still there, and I think that's
I'm
really
gonna tell you what I
resilient.
told your dad many, 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 many years ago. Anybody else in my shoes would have walked away a long time ago, before the proposal, before the wedding, before any of that.
Absolutely.
Anybody in their right minds would have walked away.
And with that, like, I'm not gonna touch on the child services part, but I guess was the one thing that, I guess, what was the hardest part about watching it happen, I guess, like watching the fall apart and like me fall apart through it all, and just continuously having to be there for those tough conversations or those fights or whatever the case may be. What was the hardest thing to see, I guess?
The hardest thing to really see was basically me being the adult in the situation, when I had to monitor two other adults. And I'm only going to speak on your situation, not Alyssa and Logan's, because that's what we're discussing.
Right.
Is being the only adult in the situation, because there was so much animosity and anger and hate between your mom and your dad. And there still is, unfortunately, 21 years later. I
Right.
mean, it is what it is. At this point, you're an adult. Just let shit go, but they are who they are. It is what it is. I mean, if they can't move past it after so many years, I mean, that's on them. More power to them, but I can't live my life not wanting to just move forward. Um it's hard because you went through your cycles, and it was the same cycles for years. You're 21 and you're still going through those cycles. And the one constant that I always said, as many times as you say, I'm never speaking to my mom or my dad, because it was both. Let's put it out there. If we're going to be real, we're going to be real about it all. And at the end of the day, the one line I always said, it's still your mom and it's still your dad, regardless. It doesn't mean you have to have relationships with them. Respect, yeah, because I'm just a big person on respect. Yes, respect is a two-way street. Yes, there are limits to how much you can take as a person, but at the end of the day, just know that everybody's story is different. Your mom's story is your mom's story. What she went through is what she went through. Nobody could dispute what she went through, because it's her life, it's her journey, it's her story. Your father is the same way. I'm the same way. You're the same way. But with you, you always had these battles where you always wanted to fit in with family, so you didn't know who to be. You were wanting to please me and your dad, and then you wanted to please your grandparents, you wanted to please your mom, you wanted to please this one. You always put what everybody felt towards you ahead of what you felt towards yourself. So if I was arguing with, say, your grandmother at one point, then you didn't want to talk to your grandmother. And if I was arguing with whoever, you didn't want to talk to them. And the same one with your mom. If your mom wasn't talking to her mom at the time, like, you always went along with the flow. You wanted to please everybody. Oh, like, oh, I'm going to get along with everybody, or I'm going to hate everybody because this person does. And so, one thing that I struggled the hardest with you was to get you to know who the hell you were as a person, and how to make you yourself happy, and not worrying about who I liked or dad liked or your mom liked. It didn't matter, because at the end of the day, you're the only one that's getting hurt in it.
Right. And that's one thing that I've definitely struggled with, even to this day, sometimes I tend to struggle with that. But um, I think through time and unfortunately through getting hurt a lot, I come to realize that, and I've seen a big difference in that. Um, so I guess like to that, was there ever a moment where you felt? I guess it's kind of separate, but was there ever a moment where you felt like I accepted you as a not just a step parent, but like a mother? Is there?
Austin, you always accepted me as a mom. It's that wasn't the issue. It's as a mom who also had kids with a stepmom or a stepmom figure. You always want to be your child's number one. You're always going to want to be their only mom. And I understood why your mom was hurt. And that's what people didn't understand is like why I would care or because at the end of the day, it's your mom. And what people seem to not realize when it comes to mine and your relationship, you were always able to come to me and talk about your issues with your mom. And I think literally in 21 years, there was one time I told you I can't help you because I couldn't put my personal feelings aside. And that's a whole other thing. Like, as a step parent, bonus parent, extra parent, whatever the heck you want to call it, because who knows what terms is going to be in 5 days from now. Um, you have to understand that every child's different. And if I couldn't put my personal issues aside, and I always told you the issues I have with your mom are between me and your mom, nothing with you. And I always try to keep it where you could talk to me about anything. Unfortunately, one time in 21 years, which I think is pretty damn good, I
Absolutely.
couldn't put, but I was honest with you. And I told you, listen, this is something I cannot talk to you about because of my own personal issues. But people don't understand this is what you need to do, even as a parent. You got to just put it aside. I mean, I'm far from perfect. I'm nowhere near perfect. I don't claim to be perfect, but you got to look at it from multiple angles.
Right. And like to that, it's I guess from like my standpoint, it's difficult sometimes to I don't know. I guess it's like difficult to talk about my like biological mother in front of you because it's always been like a topic of like
You never wanted to hurt me and you never wanted to hurt your mom
right
at
and
the end of the day. And you felt if you spoke to me about your mom, you would be hurting me. And if you spoke to your mom about me, you'd be hurting her. And at the end of the day, I never got hurt by anything you said about your mom. And I've always tried to encourage you to have that relationship with your mom. As many times as you guys would argue, oh, I'm not talking to her again. I'm like, uh-huh. See how long this would last this time. Because at the end of the day, and even with your latest issues that you had with your mom, yes, you guys are on speaking terms now or whatever, which I think is great. Is it going to last? Probably not. But is that going to last? Probably not. I mean, at the end of the day, parents and children will argue. It's any relationship. They're not perfect. But you have to be willing to learn from them and know what mistakes you're both making to improve your relationship.
right and I think that's really important and I know that there are a bajillion people that are in the same or similar situations and I guess from a stepchild's perspective I through learning over time and experiencing different issues that have arisen I guess it's just important to know that and this is one thing that my dad really emphasizes family is what you make it
1,000%.
And it took me a really long time to realize that no, it's okay to have your birth mom or your biological mom, but also having your stepmom or your bonus mom or, whatever that case may be. It's okay to do that because all it is just surrounding yourself by people who love you and who care for you.
It's a bigger village.
Exactly. And it does take a village.
It still does. At 42, I still need my village.
Well, I never want to get rid of mine.
No, you don't have to get rid of your village, but you could always fix up your village. You can, take people away from the village, but you always want to add to your village. You don't ever want to be just you because a one person village is not going to get you far.
Right. And so like my last question on this is, what has been your favorite part about having a blended family?
We've been blended for 20 years, like in a way. I mean, me and dad have been together for 20 years. We'll be married 19 this year. Um, but I can't even really say because you guys were so young. It's not like you guys were older and were learning who you guys are as people. You guys were still developing as people. So we never really felt it as a blended family. We just considered it is this is our family. Like there
Right.
really was no blending. It was just we just kind of all just fell into it.
Right. And I think like I think we all got, all of us in this little family of ours got lucky in that sense that we were all still so young and we were able to grow up next to each other and experience the same things with each other.
Not saying it was all, ice cream and
Oh,
candy and
definitely not.
cookies
Definitely
because we
not.
had some rotten fish and, stuff like that.
Definitely, but no family's perfect, no journey is perfect, and I do love that I can look back on memories and it's not just, you know, like my step siblings and then me, or me and my biological siblings and then them. It's we're all in a sense like there's
You're still learning that though.
right, absolutely. And it's really nice to be able to look back on that now and say like, no, this was, we grew up together. This is, my step siblings are not my step siblings. They are my brother and sister.
I mean,
Um,
how many years did the schools think that I was your biological mom? Because we really never put it out there, like,
right,
unless we had to. It was just most of the time, yeah, they knew I was your mom, but not your mom. But we never made it like, oh my God, we have to announce that I'm not biologically your mother. Like, it's honestly, it's a title.
right,
And yeah, like I said, you always want to be your children's number one. But at the end of the day, as long as your children have somebody, that's what should really matter.
right. And I really look up to that as, in down the line when I become a parent. That's definitely something that I will carry with me.
Just don't put them out on the balcony in the winter in their underwear, like you said when
I
you were like
can't.
4 years old.
I
If
was
I ever
4
have kids, I'm going to punish them and put them on the balcony in their underwear in the
in the
winter.
snow. Well, thank God I grew up. Thank God I grew up. Child abuse. Um, well, I did forget about one question. I had one more question on this topic.
Why are we not surprised?
Um, I know for me, from my standpoint, as a stepchild, my greatest fear, I guess, when I was growing up was losing you, like in a sense of like if you and my dad were split up or something like that, and I would never like see you again. And obviously, I knew that was not true, but like, was there ever? I guess was there any fears on your end of being a step parent?
That's when you have to like really like look into your laws of your state, your city, your towns, whatever the case is, because I don't know what it is now, but years ago, as long as me and dad were married for 6 months, legally I would have been able to obtain visitation rights no matter what. And I know for a fact I would have gotten them regardless if your mom and dad didn't want it. But if you did and you told your law guardian or whoever, however old you were at the time, they would have probably honored it, being that I was your one constant. So I honestly never really had to worry about that because I knew at the end of the day, even though legally I had no standing in making any decision for you, but being that me and dad are legally married, if at any point we would have divorced, we both would have had rights to you guys.
Right. Okay. So, my last topic of conversation.
Oh, joy.
Well, for this episode, my mom is definitely gonna come back for some more episodes, and we're gonna talk a lot. She's basically gonna be my occasional co-host, and I love that.
Somebody sing coffee. Lots of coffee.
um,
And Tylenol.
and not the Tylenol. So I want to touch on the I don't know how to bring this up.
The elephant in the room, which I'm not sure which elephant he's about to bring up, so it kind of scares
um,
me.
having a gay child.
Okay. What about
Um,
it?
I know that it's been told a lot to me while I was a child that everybody, oh, we knew you were gay. We knew you were gay. I don't really love that statement. It's not my favorite statement that was made to me. Um,
Sorry.
However,
It's just funny.
stereotypes and things, but
It
that's
wasn't stereotypes, Austin. It's you have to understand something. I'm the type of person, I really don't care who you like, love, be with, whether you're gay, straight, bi, whatever the case is, whether you're going with somebody with a different religion, race, ethnicity. I never really cared. I never looked into that. Like, to me, it's whoever you're attracted to, both physically and mentally and emotionally. Some will even say spiritually. I mean, that's all that matters. As long as you guys were always happy and there was no type of any type of physical, verbal, or any type of abuse like that, I didn't care. I didn't care what other people thought. Like, I see it still to this day in 2025. Oh my God, it's a sin. What, how do you not disown your child? You guys grew up knowing I don't care about any of that. You guys grew up knowing that if you went to jail, I would not visit you. That was my only stipulation in life. I don't bail anybody out of jail. I don't go visit anybody in jail, and I will not send you anything in jail. No letters, no pictures, no nothing. I don't care because you must have done something bad enough to land your ass in jail. And I also said that if I ever saw your ass on TV that people were looking for any of you guys, I'd be the first one to call in because that's just the type of parent I am. I really don't care because I didn't raise you like that. So it's not, we're not doing that. But I'm not going to sit here and say, oh my God, my kid is gay. What should I do? Okay, you're gay. Have fun. Be safe. And tell you the same thing I told the other ones. Use protection, know who you're with, and just be happy. Shit.
well,
Oh, and graduate high school, which you all did. So I think I did
um,
good.
I guess from me for like from my perspective, coming out was not easy for me. It was very scary.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that there wouldn't really be any pushback from you guys, like just from the way that I was raised and growing up. I guess from your standpoint as a parent, what was the hardest thing to I guess like what was the hardest thing to or watch or experience with my coming out journey?
Knowing all the backlash you were going to get. Because not, we put it this way, we don't live in an accepting world. We never will. Um, I'm not going to go into detail on my thoughts on that, but knowing that you always struggled to figure out who you were as a person, as a son, as a brother, as a grandchild, as a friend, as a cousin, and now for you to try to go through navigating life as a gay person, were you going to ever be able to just be you? And I think you still struggle with that at times. Like you're starting to come out of your shell a little bit more. Um, as you're getting older, as you're getting more comfortable with yourself. Do you still hold back? Yeah, you hold back, but I think you hold back to protect others more so than yourself. And at this point, basically, screw everybody else. Do what makes you happy. Don't become like me at 42 and not knowing what's going to make you happy. Just focus on you, who you are as a person, gay, straight, whatever. Who cares? Just be you, be happy.
Right. And like I really respect that and appreciate that. And like in a previous or in my first episode, I spoke about, when I came out to you, and a couple days later we got,
The conversation at the dinner
well,
table.
not that conversation. That was quite traumatizing for me.
That shit was funny.
But I was talking about, I told, I had brought up when I first came out to you, and we got a package a couple days later in the mail from Amazon, and it was a pack of rainbow heart stickers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, that is what helped me really feel okay enough to continue to come out to everybody and come out to my grandparents and, just really start to become who I am, because just that little, I guess you could say, like, incentive or, reassurance, that was all that I really needed, because I don't really know why, but and I never really knew why, but in most things that I do, I've always looked for your approval and your sense of, you know, this is good for you. And I still do to this day, and it's something that's never going to change.
Which I tell you to change it because at the end of the day, the only approval and acceptance you need is yours and in your situation, God's, because you believe in God. So that's really the only one you really have to worry about. Like,
Right.
I know you've always looked at, like, oh, what is Shannon going to say? What is she going to think? What is she? I'm just a person. I'm your everyday person that goes through life just like everybody else. It's you gotta, whether I accept it or not, that's on me. That has nothing to do with you.
Right.
Don't live your life wondering if I'm going to be okay with what you're doing because what if I'm not? And then you can miss out on the best opportunity of your life.
Right.
But I get it.
And like I get, it's like, even to like when I first released my book, like my first book, and even the second one, and even this podcast, it was a different time when I released There's Light. It was, dark times for us, but I still looked for that, like, does she think this is a good idea? Like, is she gonna like this? And even now, like with my podcast, like it's more so like an excited to show you like what I'm doing. And I know, because the one thing that I hold with me is the one person that I've always been able to openly talk to about mental health and struggles that I have dealt with on a daily basis has always been you. And I guess, especially from a mental health standpoint, like when I do anything for like advocacy or things like that, or like release a book, like you're the first person I want to tell, because you're the only person growing up that I was able to talk to about being depressed or having anxieties.
Not even that. I also didn't really sugarcoat it. Like, what am I gonna sugarcoat it for?
Right.
I mean, I literally told you if I think things are a good idea or a bad idea or whatnot.
Right. So to close out this um, this topic, and I have just two more questions. Is what is one piece of it, or what is one thing you would say to a parent that has a child that is starting the coming out process, both to the parent and also to the rest of the family? What would you say?
Listen, actually listen and hear what's being said. And that's where a lot of people, that's where their downfall begins because they don't listen to what is being said to them because they don't care. They just care about their own beliefs and their own wants, which is fine. You don't have to agree with your child's life and the way they're choosing to live it and who they choose to live it with. I mean, at the end of the day, you decided to lay down and have those children. You decided to, mess with biology yourself. And guess what? You don't know if you're going to have a healthy child or not. That's a chance you're taking. You don't know if you're going to have a child missing a limb. You don't know if your child's going to have medical issues. You don't know if your child's going to be gay or not. These are all chances you take when you decide to have a child because you do not know how your child is going to turn out in life. Because guess what? I raised you guys, and each and every single one of you couldn't be more different.
Absolutely. Alrighty. We have one final question for you. And it is, if someone listening or anyone listening takes one thing away from everything we just talked about, what would you want it to be?
If you need help, ask for it, reach out for it. There's so many different places, there's people. You'd be surprised, perfect strangers would how many of them would actually help somebody that's really struggling. But just know that how you're feeling, you're not alone, even though everybody's journey is different. A lot of the feelings are the same.
Absolutely. And I really resonate with that. And it's very important to get the help that you need. And there are a lot of resources out there. If you go to my website, and there is a tab that is full of resources and people you can call and numbers and websites, and really get the help that you need, because it's important.
Absolutely.
Oops. Alrighty, so that is it for this episode. Thank you for joining me on this episode.
You're very welcome. Not so short stuff.
And my mom will be back. We got lots to talk about and debrief.
You'll learn one thing with Austin. He always has a lot to talk about.
That's just me, and that's why a podcast is perfect for me. But thank you all for listening. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and I will see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye.